Before we start today, I have to tell you about State Farm agent Brian McDevitt. A lot of our listeners have gone to him for all their insurance needs, and he's been very helpful in getting them the coverage they deserve. There's no games with Brian. He's just here to help and make sure you feel safe. So if you have insurance needs and you haven't called him yet, what are you waiting for? Dial up the number, 630-796-2662. That's 630-796-2662. Or find him online at ryanismyagent.com. That's ryanismyagent.com. And make sure to mention Sports Talk Chicago. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I want to start today with this. Predictions aren't always right. Sure, many of you know that by now. You've watched my videos, many of you who know me for the past year and a half. I'm not always right. Try to be, but not always, and sometimes you call me out on it. And it's very hard for me to swallow my pride and say, you know what? I was wrong. So I want to preface this video and this show by telling you, save this video, save the podcast, listen on the radio. I'm giving you free reign right here. I'm making picks for every game for the Bears season. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to revisit this video in January and see how right I was, or how wrong I was too. I encourage you all to like, save, and subscribe. And if I'm wrong, call me out. I expect hundreds of comments after the last game of the year in January telling me I was way off. Or way on. Who knows? But I do want to see how the Bears do this year. We all know there's so many issues with this team. Offensive line issues. Who's the quarterback going to be? Secondary. Defense aging. I mean, there's so many problems. And it's hard for me to see this team being a big-time player in the NFC. But I wrote down their schedule here. I have predictions for each game. We're going to go through all of them, weeks 1 to week 18, and I'll tell you how the Bears will do in 2021. We'll start in week 1. LA Rams. LA Rams are a Super Bowl contender. They have Matthew Stafford, great defensive front, Aaron Donald, and a good secondary too. This is not going to be a pretty game on Sunday Night Football. Even if Justin Fields gets plays or maybe he comes in halfway through, it really won't make too much of a difference. The Bears are not going to win this game, and the Rams are going to start off showing everybody in prime time why they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They will win this game, and the Bears will drop to 0-1. Week 2, they go to Cincinnati, face the Bengals. That'll be a win. Bengals are just as bad as the Bears, believe it or not, especially with the O-line department. Their O-line was the worst ever assembled, according to some experts last year. That led to Joe Burrow tearing his ACL and a sack, having him be out for the year. He's going to be back behind the same O-line. The O-line that couldn't protect him last year, but for some reason I guess they might protect him this year. I don't know. Regardless, they will not win this game, the Bengals. They are too beat up. They are simply not good enough. Jamar Chase, their number 1 pick here, is telling everybody that he can't see the football. Number 1 wide receiver, did great at LSU with Joe Burrow. Now he can't see the football, is dropping the ball. That team's a dumpster fire, and the Bears should easily win that game at home. They go to 1-1. Week 3, they go to Cleveland to face Baker Mayfield. Many of you don't know this, but I like Baker Mayfield. I think he has been treated unfairly. There were times last year in Cleveland where they said he's a bust, need a new quarterback, but he had 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. Led them to the playoffs. There was the defense too, run game, good coaching, yes, but Baker did hold on to the football, less turnovers, more accurate passes, and threw for 26 touchdowns. He makes an impact in the game. The team is loaded. They are going to be, in my opinion, a serious contender this season, and the Bears have no chance to beat Cleveland at Cleveland. They drop to 1-2. Week 4, Lions, the week that I have circled as the week in which Justin Fields makes his debut. Could be wrong, but I really have a feeling that's going to be the week. They're going to be at 1-2, the Bears. There's going to be so much pressure mounting and mounting from everybody saying, put in Fields. And against the Lions, in which the Bears should win, no matter who the quarterback is, I think that's the perfect opportunity to expose Justin Fields to the NFL, to a real NFL game, not a preseason game with his first-string players, and dominate. I believe the Bears win that game to get to 2-2. Week 5 at Las Vegas. No chance. Sorry, not going to happen. Las Vegas is actually kind of in win-now mode. I mean, there's a sense of urgency there. This will be John Gruden's 4th year for the Raiders, and they haven't made the playoffs yet. That's a problem. Derek Carr's improved greatly since Gruden's come on. Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Decent defense. Darren Waller, good tight end. It's going to be a tough game for the Bears. No matter who's starting, by the way, even if it's Fields or Dalton, not going to work. Hard to contain that offense, especially when your secondary is what the Bears is. They're going to lose, go to 2-3. Packers week 6, I don't care if the Bears are at home. And I don't care how much pushback this gives me. The Bears are not going to beat the Packers this year. They're not. They're not going to beat Green Bay. And it's unfortunate. I'd love to see the Bears come in, take them out finally. But there's no chance. Even if Justin Fields starts, what's Justin Fields going to have to help him? Allen Robinson, maybe Darnell Mooney, and still a depleted O-line. Versus Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, a good run game and an okay defense. Not going to happen. The Packers are Super Bowl contenders. The Bears are a whole lot of nothing right now. The Bears will lose that game and drop to 2-4. And they turn around a week later. They face Tampa Bay at Tampa Bay. This is a tough schedule. We knew about this before, but when you sit down and really pick it apart, I'm really shocked the Bears were given this. Really, I am. I mean, this is nearly impossible for any team, even a good team. These are tough games. They will lose to the Bucs, lose to the GOAT Tom Brady. They'll go to 2-5. Week 8, San Francisco. This one is interesting. The Bears are at home. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be, nor do we know who the Bears' quarterback's going to be. If it's Jimmy Garoppolo, the Bears will win. Jimmy Garoppolo, as I've always said, is a high-tech Mitch Trubisky. He is overhyped. He really isn't that good. His numbers are comparable to Mitch. If everybody here hates Mitch Trubisky, why does Jimmy Garoppolo get all the love? And everybody in San Francisco is clamoring for Trey Lance, and Kyle Shanahan said, wait, we'll put in Garoppolo for now. That could change, but we'll keep Garoppolo for the moment. If Trey Lance plays, it could be a different story. I wanted Lance more than Justin Fields here in Chicago. That said, this game being in Chicago, and if Jimmy Garoppolo starts on top of it, the Bears are going to win that game. They'll improve to 3-5. But that one's really a toss-up, but I'm going to give it to the Bears for their benefit. Week 9 at Pittsburgh. Again, unfortunately for the Bears, there's no chance. Pittsburgh's a great team. Chase Claypool's supposed to have a great year. Juju Smith-Schuster still there. Ben Roethlisberger's back. Really not going to be a good scenario for the Bears. Their defense is much improved, Pittsburgh. I don't see them winning that game. But Week 10's a bye, and they head into the bye, in my opinion, with a 3-6 record. Now, if Justin Fields still hasn't come in yet, that could be the time the Bears put him in too. Got to think about that. That could be a great opportunity. Hey, 3-6, not going to go anywhere. Season over. Let's put in Fields, see what he could do. Just keep that in mind too. We go to Week 11. Baltimore, at home, it's going to be a loss. You know, it's crazy to think that this Bears team will be 3-7. And if they had a different schedule, obviously, the record would be different. I might have some problems with this Bears team, but they are not a 3-7 team. But with this schedule, when you're facing off against the Packers, Bucs, 49ers, Steelers, Ravens, Raiders before that too, I don't know what to say. It's a pretty damn tough schedule. And they're not beating Lamar Jackson. The defense will not be able to contain him. Even though they lost J.K. Dobbins, Lamar's the number 1 running back and the number 1 quarterback on that team. That's a fact. I don't see them winning that game. They're going to go to 3-7. Face the Lions, Week 12, that's a win. The Bears will sweep that series. They'll move up to 4-7. Week 13, at home, against the Cardinals. Very interesting game. The Cardinals last year should have actually gotten to the playoffs, not the Bears. They backed their way out by losing a couple of games. Kyler Murray's poised to have a breakout year, but is Cliff Kingsbury the right coach in Arizona? I don't think so. Great offensive mind, not a head coach. That said, I really do believe Kyler Murray is going to carry this team. He's going to will his way into the playoffs or into a wild card spot at least, and he will beat down the Bears in Week 13. That puts him at 4-8. Week 14, Packers at Green Bay, 4-9. That's a loss. Week 15, Monday Night Football, at home against Minnesota. I don't think they're winning it. Primetime football, Minnesota, I do believe, is going to be a good team. Now, Kirk Cousins is not playing that game. There's a chance. But even that, Dalvin Cook, good defense, solid all-around team. It's going to be very tough for the Bears to beat them. Especially in a game that matters. See, in the last game of the year, they faced the Vikings, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. I think the result might be different. But for now, they're not going to win that game. They will drop to 4-10. Week 16, Seattle, no-go. In Seattle against Russell Wilson. Keep in mind, too, that's the day after Christmas. And we're talking about the playoff race thickening up, heating up. Don't think for a second Russell Wilson's going to say, you know what, it doesn't matter. One of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that could win with no help. Russell Wilson. He will win that game single-handedly if he has to. And if he gets help, great. If he doesn't, doesn't matter. He's going to win that game against the Bears. So at this point, the Bears are 4-11 with 2 games to go. They'll beat New York, Week 17, the Giants. They're at home, and the Giants are really not a big threat. Even if Saquon Barkley returns, Daniel Jones is the quarterback, and that's all you need to know there. And then Week 18 against Minnesota. The Bears will win that game, only because I believe Minnesota will rest their starters. I think by that point, they'll have a playoff spot locked up. They won't have much to play for. They'll rest everybody. The Bears will win it. And the Bears will end their season at, 6-11. Now, a couple of those games could go the other way. And that's why I said in the beginning, 7-10, 8-9. But based on taking a deeper look at the schedule, I think 6-11 is going to be the consensus. It's unfortunate. I don't want to sit here and say the Bears are going to lose double-digit games. They won't do anything, but the facts are this schedule is pretty damn hard. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They have no offensive line, defensive issues, no secondary. Have you ever heard of a Super Bowl team that has quarterback issues, no offensive line, no secondary, and an aging defense? I didn't think so. This Bears team will be lucky if they finish around 500 or a game over. Maybe in that scenario, they could make the playoffs. Maybe. But right now, I say 6-11. Yes, that might be a grim prognosis. But I dare you to look at this schedule and tell me they're going to beat a team like the Browns or Buccaneers. They're going to beat 2 or even 1 against Green Bay. It's not going to happen. Not doubting Justin Fields either, even if Fields plays. We all know this already. We've talked about it. He has no help, no protection, no nothing around him. He's a rookie. He is not going to single-handedly win games against some of the NFL's best teams. Hey, if we're talking Lions, if we're talking a bottom feeder, Bengals, yes, I could see it. But Justin Fields as a rookie in the NFL with no help is not going to single-handedly beat the Rams, the Packers, the Bucs, the Steelers, the Seahawks. Not going to happen. I don't care how talented he is. I know he's talented. I know he's a great quarterback. Not going to do that his rookie year. It's a tough prognosis, but here's the one good thing. improvement is to come. If the Bears get a better schedule in 2022, if Justin Fields proves to be the real deal, they're going to be a contender. But until then, it might be a dark year, Bears fans, and I suggest you brace for some tough games. More to come here on Sports Talk Chicago. My interview with Chris Bowden comes up next, so stay tuned.